Hey everybody, I'm Jody Vance.
And I'm George-Affleck.
And it's time for...
We're having a heat wave. UnSpun.
I wasn't sure if it was a heat wave or a hot flash, you know. Old lady jokes. Sorry.
Old lady jokes.
I'm allowed.
Nice.
Yeah.
No comment.
That's okay. That's okay.
Dangerous territory for me. There we go.
It's good that you know your role there, George-Affleck. It is. Yes. But you know what? I'm one of those people who celebrates age, and I am 53 and happy to be. And still opening new chapters in my life, which, by the way, more to come on that I will share.
Okay.
Very soon. And I'm going to, break it here on UnSpun podcast or on the Orca. Right. The Orca.ca, where you sign up for your Fin, of course. The Fin has been so valuable lately. Have you been listening to Bob Price?
Yes, I try to. I wish they would transcribe that stuff though, because sometimes it's hard to listen to it. But his stuff's great. It's 1 minute. Get all the business news.
I was just going to say the very same thing, and you and I did not talk about this beforehand. I wish that was transcribed, because I don't always have the ability to tune into something. I'm trying to be quiet, or I don't have my headphones or whatever. But I want to know what he's saying because he's so great. He's so great. So you get that in every Fin every day. That's always the top of it. So get to your inbox. I had another friend of mine who actually said, I love your Fin. That thing you write, like how you write those things into every important story that I should read. And I'm like, yeah, I don't do that. No, that's McLean K.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
One of my other things that I do in my 24-hour workday.
No, I know. We're very busy. We're radio people. And I would like to actually compliment you. I listen to you. We record on Thursday, and today we're recording at 1:00 in the afternoon because you were Mike Smith 9 to noon on CKNW, and I'm afternoons from 3 to 6 on CKNW. So we're grabbing a little time in the middle. But this morning you got the big get, dude, at top of the show.
Bonnie Henry, Dr. B, Dr. Henry, Dr. H in the house.
It was great, George. You know what I really enjoyed? Well, she loved your questions, first and foremost. So you got her once. Good. You got a Dr. Henry patent giggle, which I thought was outstanding.
Oh, really? Is that a thing? I didn't know that.
It is. Well, she actually was like, you know what? That's a really good question.
I know. She said that 3 times. I got people saying that. Oh, 3 times. I thought, she's trying to just lull me into accepting her stories.
You're so funny. Well, that's what I thought when you had tweeted that you had Dr. Henry on. And of course, I saw your rundown when producer Sarah Hyde pushes it out to all the people that work there. Yeah. I was like, ooh, I'll be tuned in for sure. And I really thought that you were true to your stance. Like, no, but that's a big interview to do and could be a little bit daunting in a short period of time to really get to. You know, when you said it must be incredibly frustrating to do all the things that you do. I'm paraphrasing now, but you know, you laid down.
And then people don't do what you tell them to do. It's like, what a job. Hey, well, we always get that bit, but do you imagine being that role? And they're just like, come on, you people, I'm trying to help you here.
Like, what was your big takeaway from your one-on-one exclusive interview with Dr. Bonnie Henry?
Well, I mean, I think, she's obviously very experienced interview subject. So, I think it's really, it's so different. Like if I had done this interview a year ago, I think, I would have asked a lot of different questions. And one of my questions that I don't think I did ask, I can't remember, I had a bunch of other questions. You only have 10 minutes, right? So
it goes by fast.
It's far as, success and all that stuff. But it really is, I think her calmness obviously helps everything. It kind of comes through. And I touched on that. Her empathy, I think, is something that has resonated with people, that she is empathetic and sympathetic.
But that's the thing. That was my favorite part of this interview as well, because her answer was, I've been through a lot. I've been through Ebola. I've been through polio. I've been through SARS. I'm paraphrasing again, but she did reference, she has witnessed levels of human suffering that no Canadian could imagine, period. She has witnessed that. So when she sees what's happening here and the pushback from people that want, their personal freedoms over getting vaccinated with something that could save their life. I mean, okay, we'll get into that a little later, but the way she sort of said, at the end of the day, 81% of people in this province rolling up their sleeve to get immunized is a win. Right?
Yeah, it's hard. We can get cynical about this stuff. And your column, we'll get into that a bit. But, it's
we can talk about that now. We can talk about that now.
I mean, your column this week in the Orca is about, the success that we're having. A little bit, it's part of that. You could talk a bit about it, but we should be proud of where we're at. And you and I were talking before the show, but it's really, can we get that last 10%? I don't know, and I talked to a doctor or somebody from Alberta this week. They've written a report saying, how for general practitioners, for your family doctor, and what they need to do. And really it's about not doing a hard sell on that last 10%. It's because you can get it down to maybe 5 or 4 or 3% maybe, but you're always going to have people who aren't going to sign up for whatever reason. And so with that last 5, that percent you can get, or 10% you can get, you can't do a hard sell. You got to play around in the middle. You got to just, they're either uneducated or for whatever reason,
scared.
You don't want to make them feel stupid, or they're scared, or they're just uninformed. They're like, I have a friend who talked to another friend who called up and he was like, hey, should I get this, vaccine? What do you think? I don't know much about it. And, you sort of go, what? Really? But, my friend gave this guy his information, stayed calm. I would have been like, what are you doing? Are you crazy?
But 6 months ago, we would have been like, are you kidding me? Like in January, where are we? So 6 months ago, I felt guilty for having the opportunity to have it before others. Mm-hmm. And now, like Wednesday, is it August 4th? It's walk-in Wednesday. If you haven't had your first dose, or you're 7 weeks out from your second dose, you can just walk into any clinic and get your vaccination. I think every day should be walk-in Wednesday moving forward, frankly. And in my column in the middle this week, the thing for me was I'm personally trying to change my tone of voice. I have been exasperated by people who want to deny science, or people who want to perpetuate disinformation. I was feeling my back go up, or I'm blocking people. If you want to peddle disinformation, I'm blocking you. I'm sorry. You're not going to ride my reach, as I like to say. But if you want to talk through, somebody actually was adding me on Twitter and saying, I was going to get it. I haven't gotten it yet. And then I started reading from like the CDC, Center for Disease Control in the US, and the World Health Organization have both advised not to get it. And I'm like, okay, wherever that guy is reading, that's fake. And it's doctored. Yeah. So instead of going, you don't know what you're talking about, I went and I got the World Health Organization and the CDC links, and I put them on and I'm like, here you go. And it's not even, and then I said, I hope you do get vaccinated. I really hope you do. And the reply was something to the effect of, I'm not asking for opinion, because I said, check out, Peter J. Hotez, Jason Kindrachuk, Dr. Brian Conway. And the response was, I'm not looking for opinion. I'm like, that's not opinion. Those are scientists. Those are.
Yeah. Well, that's a whole other issue.
But it was interesting. But for me, George, and where I come from in my column, other people will look at those links. Other people will check those people. Other people who maybe are thinking, have I missed something here? Is seeing, and we'll get off. You can read my column, but basically in the column, for the people who want to say, of the people in hospital right now with COVID-19, or the new test case positives of COVID-19, there are people who have been vaccinated. Yes, you can still get COVID-19 when you've been vaccinated, but you're not going to die of it. And in the off chance you are somebody who's had 2 doses of COVID-19 vaccine and you do die, there's likely an underlying health issue, or you're over the age of 80.
81. So, I saw that. That was interesting.
Right? So that's an important part of the context of this. So anyway, read it at the Orca.ca. Have a look. But I do want to talk.
And if you want to hear my Dr. Bonnie interview, you can tweet it out, the link. So if it's on Twitter, on my george_affleck.
I will retweet that. Let's talk about
the other thing that was, but I think that's kind of what Dr. Bonnie Henry said as well, and that's the pop-up clinics. So the part of this whole reason she was on with me was because they were promoting this pop-up, the whole strategy for the pop-up clinics. But of course, then Kelowna happened, and this localization, and
what do you make?
There's 2 things going on. First of all, this localization, which I think is interesting. And I asked that question, why not do a national strategy in the first place? Because she's saying, well, we need to go local now before it was broad. And so I asked her about, well, isn't a broad reach better than at first? So we should have had a national strategy. And she kind of agreed that we should have, and we need to look at that in the future. But once you get past the worst of it, you can really then localize it. And it is about what you describe. I think this localized strategy on information and access is just trying to get those people who just either for whatever reason, and that empathetic approach that you and that logical, calm approach is kind of what they're recommending. Don't try to do the hard sell. Just give, I think just like that story I described, it's finding your peers. So if you have peers who have not been, had their vaccine, then use your calm, intelligent voice that you have.
Print
and
off my column and
give
just
them
leave it on the table.
They might just need that information. That's the last little to go, right?
And also notice if you're maybe not the best messenger. Because I've been like, come on.
Yeah.
I'm with a hard sell.
I know.
Calm down, Jode.
Yeah. The Okanagan decision, though, I don't know. I mean, I still think that creates a bit of confusion. And I'm not, and I saw Renee Merrifield, the MLA for the BC Liberal Health Critic, and I talked to her. She's the health critic, and she was kind of like, okay, you're changing the goalposts here. It's a bit confusing, but yeah. And I talked, is how hard, is that strategy to go local on the hard side, like just okay, you're wearing masks again. Okay, I get it, but then the nightclubs, and they're going, well, what do you mean? Like, but we could keep our nightclub open, but how do we police this? It's not that easy. And I've told the story, I think, before. My daughter, who works in a shoe store, and these people come in and they have a mask rule at the shoe store, and these people come in and say, I'm not gonna wear a mask. We don't have to wear a mask, but you see, but we have a rule, and I'm like 20 plus years old, and I've only had my double vax has not happened yet, and so there's those people out there, and what do you expect these people being making $15 an hour to do with people that are clearly not willing to wear a mask for whatever reason, and it's not easy for some 25-year-old to police some angry woman who's coming.
I know, it's very different. I was actually off the Okanagan topic, because masks are still recommended everywhere when you're indoors with people you don't know. I still wear my mask because I feel like that's the simple thing to do to help my community. Like it's a good
habit.
It's a good habit. And it's, if you forgot your mask, it's not the end of the world. But if you have your mask, just put it on. But Anita Huberman of Surrey Board of Trade, the CEO of the Surrey Board of Trade, wrote a letter to the federal government asking for a mask mandate, asking for that to be a federal. That's just it. Right. We're going to do that this fall. We need it. The Delta variant, blah, 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 blah. And I interviewed her, and it was really interesting, her perspective. And I did ask her, I'm like, I'm trying to imagine myself when I was 17 years old as an Earl's hostess, that I'm now going to police the grown-ups coming in for their business lunch, where I'll be like, I'm going to need to see, not the mask, it was the vaccine passport. Excuse me. That's what they're asking for, is a proof of immunization. Like we talked about this in France, right? President Macron had laid that down in France, that you have to have proof of immunization in order to move freely around the country. And he basically said, you know what, the people are going to stay home are the people who don't want to get vaccinated. So you stay home. We're not staying home, which was a different
interesting
stance, right? But then how many people signed up to get immunized after that was laid down?
1 million the next day or something. It was crazy.
You're right.
I know. And to your story, the Earl's waitressing. So my daughter, Evelyn, this woman said to her one time, she said, what are you going to do? Drag me out by my ear and, yank me out of the store? And Evelyn's like, well, no, I can't do that, but I will call security and the police.
And stop being a bitch.
Yeah.
Sorry, but that's awful. Like, who says that in a shoe store? You also have to wear
25-year-old,
right. It's just
young woman. It's just bad.
It's bad form. It's an example of what's wrong with our society right now, that is in any way, shape, or form in your mind okay to say that to another human being who's just trying to do their job. Like, respect them. And when you go to a restaurant right now and you are like, okay, I see my friend at the next table. There's no table hopping. Don't do it. Just don't do it. And if somebody tells you not to do it, understand why. Understand why.
But if I'm wearing my mask across the room and I walk across the room and say hi to somebody, that's okay, isn't it? No.
Go to your own backyard, George. It's not forever. It's just for now.
I thought table hopping was okay now. I can't remember. See, this is the problem. I thought it was okay. Anyways,
I think the problem is people dying. I think the problem is people dying, and what we need to do to stop people dying, whatever that means, should be what we do.
I hate this attitude that we get. So it's like, well, they deserve it, No, they don't wear masks. No. From a government's job is to protect all citizens.
Agreed.
And there's no level of who gets this or that. There's no way you're doing that. That's just a slippery slope chaos.
It is. And we're not going to be finished with this subject. We're in no
No.
way done with COVID-19. Summer feels way better. And if we focused a little bit on the positives here, I mean, it is lovely that your son, your youngest, my only, both are now double vaxxed. I've been in contact with your wife.
Yep.
We are all getting together. We might even go away together because our kids will have a blast.
Wait a minute, what's happening here?
I'm so grateful that we're there. While everybody wants to talk about the minutia of the whatever over here, I'm really trying to have a bit of a gratitude piece of, that we've come a long way in the last 18 months, only to find ourselves out of the COVID frying pan and into the state of emergency fire.
Fire! Oh my God! I did the top. I sang a little song about the heat wave. It's like, this is not what we need. There's rain expected next week, but that's a week away. And I was talking to this guy this week, talking about fire storms. This is like these fires are just because of it's like a convection oven from the heat. When it gets really hot, that we're expecting this weekend, and creates this convection oven. So when you open your oven and get a blast of air. That's what happens when it gets really hot. The air just kind of gets created, and guess what that does when there's little sparks here and there. A pole falls down, electric pole falls down because of the wind. It sparks in a dry area. It's like
wildfire.
And it's amazing the technology they have for finding these. It's like a heat dome in a heat dome. Like you've got the heat dome happening this weekend, and within that dome, there's these mini
firestorms. I know, it's like Nostradamus, man. It's like
I'm learning
Nostradamus.
so much stuff about stuff I don't even want to know. Frankly, I'm like, oh God.
But what I want to
be careful out there. Don't this weekend.
Be careful out there. It's supposed to rain. There's a 60% chance of rain in Kamloops this Sunday. I saw. I think it was Terry Lake. Lake who tweeted about it, because he was part of the evacuation in Kamloops when it was threatening that one really high end neighborhood right around Canada Day. Scary times up there, man. And just wanting to clear the air, like the air quality issue in Kamloops is super real. I mean, I drove through there. I was outside of Kamloops and it was all right. And then I drove into it and I was like, damn. And they've been dealing with this like level DEFCON 10 air quality for a month. And now there is smoke probably coming to Metro Vancouver in the next couple of days. Christy Gordon.
No.
Yeah, it is, but not from the wildfires in BC. It's coming up from California because I'm not a meteorologist. I play one on the radio. The high pressure system that's coming up from the south is bringing that airflow from California. So we're going to have red sunsets and maybe that sort of campfire vibe. And just being aware that wearing your mask can help with the particulate piece, or just stay inside if you've got those.
Inside seems to be the key one. Yeah.
Right.
Yes. Well, that's at least we have a good budget. Our budget's on track.
Is it?
Well, I love this. This is like it's an under promise, over deliver kind of thing where they said, "Oh, we're going to have an $8.5 billion deficit." They said about 6 months ago.
Yeah.
Now it's $5.5 billion. This is the provincial government in BC. So you're like, "Oh, great." Wait a minute. What? How much? $5.5 billion.
At least it's not 8.5. Is what?
Yeah, you're like, what?
It's kind of like how Metro Vancouver does our property taxes, right?
Yeah.
It's like they do the super high number and then they back up to the one that would have made us choke before, and now we're okay with it.
Jody, it's only a cup of coffee.
Only a cup of coffee. What kind of cup of coffee?
A cup of coffee. I don't get the E rating today. So 3 billion savings in their giant deficit, but and it mostly comes because of ICBC and real estate, which of course is interesting. And then not foreign investment and all that stuff. It's it's locals buying real estate crazy like nobody expected in the past year. Yeah. Well, or just kind of sitting around and flipping. I don't know what they were doing. Everybody was buying real estate last year. They had more time to think about it. I don't know, but they made a lot of money off real estate, and the ICBC, nobody's driving. So they're claiming it's because of their amazing management of ICBC. But seriously, we know accident rates were like down hugely. And so there wasn't claims. So, we'll see if that ICBC stays the way it's been going. And you can you should never budget your life around real estate. I can never plan based on real estate. That's like planning your retirement on your value of your home. Don't do that.
Don't do that. No. What about Elections BC report? You were going to tell me about this. I have not seen it, but I would like you to unspin it for me.
Yeah, it's there's a big report that the Elections BC, the organization that runs the election, and this is the election last fall, which I ran in, as you know, badly, failed miserably.
Oh, George.
um, it's okay. I'm
You
okay.
ran against a very established incumbent.
Ugh. Anyways, the Battle of the Georges, and this George went down
Swinging.
Swinging. That's swinging. Thank you. Anyways, the report there's lots in there, but the two main things were, one was the cost, which is 12 million. The other, which I thought was interesting, was that you could tell that Elections BC had been planning for an election since the day the NDP kind of took over and that whole fiasco that happened early on. And even in July, it said they ramped up their planning and their budgeting into the assumption that their election was coming. They didn't have any intel. Nobody was telling them. It said in the report, but they kind of sensed it was coming. But strangely, I talked to Shirley Bond on CKNW, and I asked her this question. So how come Elections BC knew it was coming, but you guys were a little bit, this election was a surprise. So, she kind of a bit laughed at that. She was quite
Elections are rarely a surprise.
No, I know. We got one coming. We got another. So anyways, that was the main report. But now
oh my gosh,
there's so many announcements.
Can you cut another ribbon, please? Can you cut another? Somebody was on Twitter saying they saw Prime Minister Trudeau in Deep Cove recording his election spots. So
really, well, there's a commercial running that I've heard. It's clearly a BC Liberal, supporting organization. I've never heard of it. Running on CKNW, and it's just like, you don't want the Conservatives.
Oh yeah,
the Conservatives are.
There's a lot of politics in our stuff and on the radio rotation right now for sure. But in this Elections BC report, what do we know how much it costs British Columbians?
Yeah. Well, 12 million, I think was what it said.
12. Sorry, I missed that. Yeah. Did you already say that?
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
12 million. And so it was okay. It was nothing surprising. It did talk a bit about the surprise side, but it didn't really get into it didn't get political, that's for sure, because it's Elections BC. It's not supposed to be a political organization. But I think most of it was like, this was really expensive, and it was probably, given the costs of that, and given that we were in a pandemic. But politically, you look at, okay, it's interesting because you think, okay, we know Horgan did it, and this is in the report, but we know Horgan did this so he could have a majority and win, and he was top of the polls at that point. And,
yeah. The internal polling numbers were like, you're doing it.
Yeah, he couldn't have predicted what was going to happen. But actually, if he'd waited, which would be now, which would, this would be the election coming this October, he probably would do just as well. I think at this rate, I don't think people are particularly upset. I mean, he's the only one making, gaffes in any kind of appearances. But generally, people are not dissatisfied with the NDP enough to push them out. And that's how you lose elections. You don't get beaten, you lose because you don't want it anymore,
which is looking very much like what's going to happen in Alberta. Like the pivots and the perspectives and the moves at the province next door. Like when you said about speaking with Dr. Henry about wanting sort of a national approach, she must just have, without putting words in her mouth,
right?
Like, can you imagine I feel for Dr. Dina Henshaw. Like she's just like, okay, so people with COVID-19 no longer need to quarantine. Like what?
And didn't she have COVID too? She got COVID.
Probably. Yeah, I think she did actually.
And then you look at Ontario, and a friend of mine just got his first haircut in a year.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, but what if we'd all taken the Ontario approach, or what if we all took the Alberta approach? That's the thing. Okay, we sit here and go, well, we're pretty good here. But if we'd had to take a different approach and we didn't do as well, we'd be pretty upset. So.
I'm pretty happy that I get to be a British Columbian across the board, because while people are like, I'm confused at various points over the last 18 months, I really have never found myself confused. I felt like, go home, stay home, stay tight, only stay with your family, don't see anyone. Then it was, okay, you can see people outside, but keep your distance and wear your mask.
Yeah.
Wear your mask everywhere. Please wear your mask everywhere. Okay, we're going back to school and we're going to do the cohorts. Like that was the biggest leap of faith in trusting science. And then I was super lucky. I mean, not everybody's boat is the same in this storm, right? My boat was my 13-year-old kid who managed to thrive with a hybrid of in-class and at-home learning. I'm looking ahead to this fall, and my fingers are crossed that we have a less restricted time at school and also a safe time at school. Of course, we're going to have outbreaks. We're going to have positive tests. It's going to be stressful. You know, like what I'm looking at, and certainly I got this from your discussion with Dr. Henry, as I did from the last 2 press briefings I've watched from our health officers, is that what we're experiencing right now is good and we should enjoy it. And being outside is a great way to be able to gather. But we're, you know, with pockets of people who aren't vaccinated, we have to be cautious and mindful going into the fall, and cold and flu season is going to impact us in ways that are going to be weird because we basically didn't have any of that last year.
I know. I'm going to get cold and I'm going to think I have COVID or something.
Right.
Well,
we're all going to do that. But if you're immunized, you can say, okay, well, I'm going to manage this as best as I can. If I need medical help, I'm going to seek it out in a responsible way and have these conversations with people and hopefully get that last 906,000 people in British Columbia immunized, as many of those as possible. So if you're listening right now and you're looking for a way to get comfortable with being immunized, please reach out. You can reach out to @george_affleck. He's going to be very patient with you and empathetic. My DMs are always open as well at Jody Vance, Jody with a Y, at Jody Vance on Twitter, and read my middle because it does have some stats in it. There are a couple of personal stories in there from friends and extended family of mine who have said, "Oh my God, I can't believe my sister. Oh my God, my mom," you know, and they're just, they're so entrenched in their Facebook group that they feel like they can't break away from that disinformation machine. And we just need to gently move the meter with facts as opposed to screaming the facts in the face of others. So that's my rant for today.
And we're not here next week. We're going to take another week off.
We are.
So
we're going to take a pause.
Those of us who are avid listeners or viewers,
blame CKNW.
No, we'll blame McLean because he's taking a week off.
It's McLean's fault.
Let's blame
it really
our
is.
boss.
And then Jordan's fault. I mean, everybody's fault. How dare they take vacation?
We're working, but we don't. Yeah, I know. Somebody's got to produce this thing behind the scenes, and that's those guys. So, so we'll be off next week, and then back the week after, and then it's, oh my God, summer's going to be over soon.
Then we can we can be on Jimmy Kimmel because we'll say, "Oh my God, I can't believe it's August. Can you believe it's August? I can't believe it's August," because that's what everybody does on the 1st of August.
It's true though. It's the worst. It's like, oh.
I know. We'll
July
enjoy it.
Should be 2 months long.
Yes. Yeah, but you know what?
Right.
I'm kind of looking forward to rain, I got to say. So there you go.
I mean, I need it, but I kind of like the sun.
Big news for you when we return.
I thought you were going to tell me it today. Wait a minute. You promised to tell us. What's the big news?
Not today. It's not signed yet. It's not what you think, though.
Oh.
How about that? Is that a good hint? It's not what you would assume.
That's a pretty obvious hint. I think everybody will know what you're talking about there. So, okay. Well, we'll find out in 2 weeks, I guess, or before.
Yeah.
Exciting.
Give me a follow on Twitter.
Yes, if you're not already. I'm sure everybody is already.
I hope so. Okay, bye. Say goodbye, George.
Have a great week off.
Thank you. You too.
Bye.